If you've ever had your knob move when you didn't want your knob to move, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if not already subscribed. We're going to talk about our knobs today, and maybe we'll fix them. So what I mean by knobs is guitar knobs that go on pots. Get your mind out of the gutter. So we're having another random spin-off, summer spin-off episode. Things are still kind of all over the place. Things are busy, schedules all over the place. Soccer games, pool, beach. I got to work, but they're all off. Kind of chaotic to say the least. But today, I've got the house to myself, and I figured since I don't have a whole lot on my plate right now, I would shoot a video, which was sparked off by a conversation that was on a Facebook group where someone was saying that they bought their new guitar. In that case, it was a PRS, and they love the guitar and everything, but whenever they play, they keep hitting the volume knob and it keeps rolling back. And they were asking for tips on that. And someone commented and sent the tip of, there was all kinds of other stuff like, one guy said, just duct tape it so that it doesn't move. It's not really something that someone wants to do when they actually care about their instrument. You see a lot of live guys do duct tape on their stuff for various reasons. One, it's they needed a fix right then and there. Others is they have so many guitars that they get given guitars, so they don't really have that care behind the instrument that they paid for with their hard-earned money. So they'll put duct tape, or in the case of Slash, I think he puts duct tape on all over all the screws because it could interact with his pacemaker. So there's all kinds of reasons, but in this case, this guy here, he was proud of his purchase. He loved his guitar, and the only thing wrong with it was he kept knocking the thing. Other people said just learn to play with your, just train your hand to play different on that guitar so you don't knock the volume. Also a solution, I know some guys who play Strats for a long time, then they switch to other guitars and their hand still has they play with their fingers a certain way where it won't interact with the volume knob. But on a Strat, the volume knob is really close to the bridge pickup, whereas on Les Paul, it's not really the case. The other option is someone mentioned like a D'Addario, I think it's called the brake pad, where it's like a big, I don't have one here. It's like a big washer. Oh, it looks sort of like this. The strap things. These are Ernie Ball, but you buy a couple of Grolsch bottles with the pop top and you pull the washer off. It's basically this, right? And I'm not sure of the material of the D'Addario stuff, but they're like $7.50 or so. And I don't even know if that's US or Canadian. You're spending a premium for a piece that you could otherwise get for real cheap. One guy commented and had the tip that I was about to type in the comments, which was just use an O-ring. And for the price of one D'Addario, or unless they come with a set of two, the D'Addario brake pad, you can get like hundreds of O-rings. Case in point, I bought this a while back, and probably about 3 or 4 years back. It's a 225 piece O-ring kit on Amazon. So it was probably about $14 maybe. But there's a crap ton of O-rings in here that you can use all over the house. It doesn't have to be just guitar. It could be, you got a leaky faucet or something. There's an O-ring in there. You change that. There's a lot of uses for O-rings. And it comes with all of these. This is where it gets specific, but these are good to have for all sorts of uses. So the trick is, on a Les Paul, when you're playing, right, you're not really anywhere near these. Plus, in a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, there's a smooth, there's a smooth resistance. So it doesn't turn so freely, but it's free enough where you can, if you intentionally turn it, it will turn. But knocking it doesn't really turn here. But your hand's not really going here. But on other guitars, different problems like Strats and all that. This fix will work on a Strat too. I'm not pulling off the knobs on my Strats today, but I've got 2 guitars here that we're going to do the mod to and show you. One of which, actually both I have issues with. One of which more so, but we're going to fix that. So here is the S2 that we've seen on the channel a couple videos. I changed the pickup covers. I'm trying to make it look more Gibson-ish. See if I can really bond with it. I haven't found that bond yet. So on the single cuts, I'm not sure about the McCartys because I haven't had my hands on a McCarty. Like not the single cut with the 4-knob model. Older McCartys I've worked on, played, had my hands on and stuff. But the new 4-knob McCarty single cuts I haven't. Or even the double cuts now, they have the same knob pattern. But they look to be kind of tucked away more like on the Gibson. On the single cuts, what you have is neck volume, neck tone, bridge volume, bridge tone. These three I don't have a problem with at all because they're far enough away. But when I'm strumming, it's sort of doing the same issue that I have with Strats where you knock it and it goes down. So just by brush, and they're kind of scratchy. I don't know if you could hear that. They're a little scratchy, these pots, and they turn very easily. So say I'm strumming, I knocked it twice, right? And it would be, if there was a marker, there'd be about volume 6, right? It turns very easily. Couple hits and now I'm at 0, right? So I found playing this, mainly just band practice or just jamming around here, that I would knock the neck volume down, but I wouldn't know. And then I'd go from bridge to neck position, and then the volume would just drop out on me because the volume knob had gone down. So this is how you fix that. From my experience, the ones that seem to work the most are the 6 by 2 millimeter. So what that means is the inside diameter from one end to the other is 6 millimeters, and it's 2 millimeters thick. If you go thicker than that, it's too thick and the knob can't go back on. So basically, so here's a pot, right? This is a solid shaft. So like on a Tele where you have or any other guitar that has a set screw knob, you'd want a solid shaft, but in all intents and purposes, the rest is the same. This actually came out of my JTM 45, trying different master volume pots from like 500K to 1 meg, all that stuff. Anyways, take your knob off and you slide the O-ring on just like that. You don't want it too thick because then your knob won't be able to go fully on. And the idea here is that the knob presses against the O-ring, which presses against the sleeve that the shaft goes in. And you get a little bit of resistance, but because it's like a smooth rubber, it doesn't feel rough. It feels smooth, but you got a lot more resistance there. For some people, it might feel like too much resistance. So this fix is good for when you're really having a problem with that volume knob and you want it to stop, but you don't want to modify the guitar or put tape and, risk wrecking your finish. That's what you do there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to be all awkward here and hold this in a weird way. Normally I'd put this on a bench, but I don't feel like resetting the camera just for this. So you pull your knob off. Okay, so this is how easy the knob turned, right? I'm lightly rubbing against it and the knob's turning. This one was the same. So we're just going to see that. Just put the O-ring right there. And then you press the knob on top of that. Make sure you line the splines. Push it in. I don't know if you could see, but there's more resistance there, right? So where I could lightly touch and roll this back, you can kind of see the knob turning. Here, it's not turning. But if I want it to turn, it'll turn. You just have to use more force to get it to turn, right? But then while playing, knocking it didn't even move. It's like right at the end. So that's how I would fix that. You got no tape, you've modified nothing on the guitar, and if you want to return it back stock, pull the knob off, pull the O-ring off, push the knob back on, and now you've got right back to as if nothing happened. So that's one way to fix that. On the Telecaster is the other one I usually have issues with. And it's a little bit of a different thing. This one here, what happens is I'll either roll the volume down or up depending on where the volume is at when I'm going for the switch. Now, this you can't really tell by eye, but it has a different plate, and I believe it's a Philadelphia luthier plate. What it is it's the exact same as the standard Telecaster plate, only the hole for the volume pot is just a little further back. And what that does is it leaves more room, because normally the knob will go right up to about there, and like there's like 3 or 4 millimeter gap between the knobs, the switch knob and the volume knob. This here gives you like a full like width of a finger, so you can get in there, right? But even though there's more space, you can get at the switch better, other than instead of having to pull it, you can get in there. You could still brush against the volume. So like, let's say if I'm playing and I've got the volume rolled back a little bit, and then I go in like this angle, right? So see, you've got, right, some volume there. So you can see the set screw here. I watch that move when I go in for the switch, right? Now I'm going slow and I'm purposefully turning it, but it's mimicking, like if you're playing and you just, playing and go in there, now you got high volume, and that could have not the effect that you're desiring here. The trick with that is the O-ring trick. So in this case, I'll have to get a flat screwdriver, loosen that set screw. Same exact thing as the other guitar now. You just pull that knob off, put the O-ring, put your knob back on. You got to press down a little bit. So the more you press down in this version here, the more you press down and then set the screw, the stiffer it'll be. But now it's a lot stiffer. So if you want it to move, you're going to want to really make sure you make it move. But let's say I'm here now, right? And I go in, see, and I rubbed against the knob. It hasn't even moved. Or if it does, it's barely moving. See, it moved a little bit, but I'm really trying to make it move. So there's less chance here, right? But it still turns, it still moves, and you're not damaging the pot. So that's how you do it without using tape, without buying expensive gimmicks. Get an O-ring kit, or get just a small little pack of O-rings. You probably find that for like under $1. The size I'm using is 6 by 2 millimeters. It's tiny. So the inner diameter is 6 millimeter. I think the outer diameter is like, it would be 10 millimeters, right? Because it's 2 millimeters thick. So if you do the outer diameter, it's 2 millimeters plus 6 millimeters plus 2 millimeters, 10. So outer diameter 10, inner diameter 6. The O-ring itself is 2 millimeters thick. That seems to be the one that works on guitar-related pots. Now, I've used that on amps, right? They have pots. So when I was running the Hot Rod DeVille, those knobs, like majority of them were like very like loose feeling. They turned really easily, and they were on chicken head knobs. So just carrying it from the house to the car and the car to the practice space or venue, the knobs would just move just from vibration and moving around, and maybe something slid across the top or rubbed a couple knobs and they moved, right? When you rub a knob, it moves. I did the O-ring trick, the same size O-ring. I think in some of those, I also used a slightly thicker one. This would be, what would that be? These are the 6 by 3 ones. Let's see, do we have any more of those in the box? Right, so the 6 by 2, 6 by 3. So on some of the pots in the Hot Rod DeVille, I used the 6 by 2. Some of them, for some reason, the 6 by 2 didn't do anything. So I put a 6 by 3 and then pushed the knob on and set the screw. And then they got stiffer. And then from there, I could still turn them and they were nice and smooth, but they wouldn't move unless you really wanted it to move. It's kind of the point, right? With all knobs. Anyways, jokes aside, that worked perfect. I would take the amp from home to the car to the venue or the practice space, and the knobs were still in all the same positions. So it worked there. It's not the only place it works aside from guitars, also pedal boards. So in my smaller gigging board, which I covered in the previous video. So if you want to see that and you haven't seen it, look at the previous video. I kind of go over my two boards, but the smaller board, a couple of the pedals the knobs would change all over the place because I just throw it in a backpack with my cables and everything else, and then put it on my back and grab my guitar and amp, and it's a one trip to and from the venue, the car, the whatever. I would set up and I would forget to check the knob settings. I would start playing and things would be off, and then have to fix it on the fly. Not something you want happening in practice, much less something you want happening while you're live in front of an audience. So I did the O-ring thing, and they didn't move unless I wanted to move. I throw it in a backpack, and very rare is there a knob setting that changed. So that's the tip for today. That's the video for today. No playing because I don't know what to play, and we'll get to that point eventually again. But for now, don't modify your guitar if you accidentally hit your volume knob and it turns. Don't buy a gimmick that you're going to spend more money for what it does. Also, side note to that, the D'Addario brake pad, I don't know what material that is, but because it's wider like this, I suspect that it would touch the body. And depending on what material that is, if you've got a nitro finish guitar, which Gibsons are nitro, some Fenders are Fenders have pick guards, so you're safe. But some PRSs, I think all PRSs now are all nitro. S2 to core. The SEs are fine. They're still like 2mm, 3mm thick plastic. Sorry, but that's what it is. The poly finish, I've said it before, the poly finish is technically a superior finish as far as durability and reliability, right? Certain rubbers contacting with it won't interact with it and melt it like it does with nitro. So that's the whole point with my warning against bigger things. Like, you don't want to use these rubber washers on your pots, even though they do fit and they would add resistance. It could melt your finish if you've got nitro. So these O-rings, they only come in contact with the pot, right? So the body would be below this nut here. So there's no contact. There's no, it should be safe. You don't want to go with a bigger washer. Like, you don't want to throw something like this under and then have the knob rub against that, because that's going to melt your finish, blah, blah, blah. So I lost my train of thought. But yeah, you buy like something like the D'Addario brake pads, you're spending, taxes in and stuff, probably about $10-ish, give or take, on something that you could have easily gotten like a little bag of O-rings for $1, maybe less, right? Or a box like this for whatever I paid. I think it was $14 on Amazon. Box like this, like, I still have a ton of O-rings, and we're still finding uses for them. So yeah, put O-rings under your knobs, guitar knobs. Get your mind out of the gutter. Go have a shower and clean your mind with some less dirty stuff. You guys are dirty, and I don't like it, and I'm out.